Yeah.
Plus, the reason we want to talk about this, like we want to get this done immediately, is last night's episode was pretty great. I mean,
Amazing.
we're again, if you haven't seen it, watch it first because we're not going to hold it back. There are going to be spoilers. R.I.P. Baelor. I mean, this is what happens when good men enter a fight. It
I
happens.
knew it was coming, and it wasn't like I read the books or anything, but again, it was, you knew it was the Ned Stark situation. He was a good guy doing the right thing, and I was like, oh, so like in my mind, I was like, they're gonna behead him make it just to make sure like, hey, this is our Ned Stark, but they didn't. They, still involved his head, but
Yeah, so quick rundown is we immediately jump into the trial of seven, however they want to say it. And that it's, I mean, like it's immediate and it is chaos from the get-go. And Dunk is knocked out and put in concussion protocol early. And they use that time, which I thought was actually very smart of them to use that, like him being knocked out to go, you know what, we're going to go hurry up. We're going to flash back to his youth real quick in Flea Bottom with his friend Rafe, where they're kind of struggling just to survive as that break in during, instead of they know they have very limited time to get all of this content
yes.
into this episode. And we flash back to his, like I said, his life in Flea Bottom with his like tag team partner Rafe, who they're kind of like looting these dead bodies after I believe it's the Black Fire Rebellion, that you get like a little glimpse into. And he's wanting to do the noble thing and kind of put this guy to his misery. His friend is like, why don't we just steal his teeth, you know?
She was the chick from Dune Prophecy. It took me a minute to
Yes.
remember, so I had to look it up real quick because I'm like, I feel like I've seen her recently.
Yes. Yeah, and she did an excellent job in that as well. So like HBO always loving their same actors over and over
Yes.
again. So deluding them, they get some money that they're wanting to get out of Flea Bottom, and it's not enough. So now they're like, all right, gonna square one again. They run into a no good guy. I guess I don't know what his purpose is in Flea Bottom. His name Alistair, whatever.
Yeah.
Just a no good guy. I mean, he's basically stealing from the kids. She steals his flask. They get into a tussle again with him. This time she steals his sword, which you're like screaming at the TV, like, leave it alone. You got away with it the first time. Quit egging this guy on. He's going to do something. And
It
then
calls back to what she said when he talked about the war is over, and she's like, it's never over. People don't forget. They they literally had the talk on the road about how, because he said the war was over. She said it's never over. Like, you do something to them, they do something back. Even if it takes a while, they always get you back. Like, she laid out the blueprint. He comes, tries to steal their scavenger stuff. She takes his flask. He comes back after them, takes their money. She takes his knife. I'm like, girl, you literally just did
right.
exactly what you broke down like 10 minutes ago.
I mean, it's an excellent point that I had not thought of. I didn't remember her saying that. So I mean, like, yeah, that's like I said, excellent point. She's kind of like before she gets her neck slit in Game of Thrones
Oof.
fashion, which of course we are reminded this is a Game of Thrones
They
movie.
held that camera angle for a minute too. Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God.
mean, as much as it's been kind of like, oh, fun with egg, Duncan egg, you are reminded, okay, that's true. However, this is still Game of Thrones
Yes.
universe. Like bad things happen to good people. I wouldn't even like say she's good, but I mean like she's certainly like it's just bad things happen to people no matter what station you are in the Game of Thrones.
For sure.
This is how we meet Sir Arlen. He comes to the drunken aid of them getting beat up. Dunk obviously is very upset at losing his friend Rafe. I will also say he does have a type.
He does what?
Dunk has a type.
He that is true. He does.
He does
He
have a
very
type.
much does.
Because I was like, oh, is this maybe we're getting Tansel, like
I
early
thought
on.
for a brief moment I was
Right,
like, oh, and then yeah, no, he's
right,
got just
right.
his type.
And we do get another glimpse of Sir Erland that he is very, very drunk. all the time, singing Dothraki hymns.
Yeah.
Okay. Like a little backstory on him. And Duncan's following him around because obviously at this point he's just clinging on to anyone that is going to take him out of the circumstances. It
It
takes
was a little
a
weird how he followed him, but wasn't like he was awfully close, but not his school. Like he wasn't with him yet. That was
no. And it
interesting.
took Arlen a good minute to recognize he was there. I mean, like,
Yeah. Because he was close a lot of times. Like,
right, he was, yes, it took Arlen's not the most observant, we have learned. It's either that or maybe we'll learn later that he did know he was there and he was just kind of like, and like I don't know what this kid wants from me. Like I don't
yeah, I'll wait for him to make the first move.
sure, like that's like okay. And then that's when he finally does notice him and he yells at him, get up. That's when Dunk comes back to consciousness on the battlefield, and it is melee. I mean, like it's just complete and utter chaos. And you are looking at some of it from the outside, but a lot of it you are claustrophobically viewed through his little visor. Yes. Lots of room. It has a lot of the feel of Battle of the Bastards, where it was just the claustrophobia of just everybody in on you. Shout out to Raymond Fossaway, who gets Arian off of him.
Truly, he's a real one. I mean,
He is
what a
a real
guy.
boy, has stepped up in
Yes.
every way that he possibly needs to. So there is fighting and it is brutal. It is lots of stabbing. And I mean, you really do think, I mean, even though we know Dunk is going to make it, there were times where I was like,
There were multiple moments where I thought maybe, I know that he and Egg have this long friendship thing, but I was
right,
like, is this a situation where like we're actually watching the end and we get the other stories later or something? Because there's no way this man survives this.
right. Especially when he kind of keels over and we have really great moments from Egg screaming. Well, first of all, to even start his horse, we do get the payoff that all
Yes.
that time in the meadow, his horse Thunder is reacting to Egg's voice and has learned that when he screams go, this horse takes off because clearly Dunk has just pretty much pissed his pants and paralyzed out on the
He's a
go.
system knight. He's not a franchise type of guy. He needs a solid team around him. I don't
Right.
know. People talking about Sir Duncan the Tall as a legend. I think he's a system knight. He's an Alex
As of
Smith
right
type of knight.
now, I think of right, I mean, like this clearly probably changed a lot about him
Yes.
afterward.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we get Egg that the horse Thunder reacts to his voice. We get when he goes out for his concussion and he has flashback that they use for Sir Arlen. Sir Arlen says get up, and in the meantime it's Egg screaming get up. There's a brutal fight between him and Arian. Like I said, they're stabbing. He's cutting his leg. He's stabbing his side. Like it does not look at his eye looks jacked
Ooh, I can't get away from the Igor. I mean, every week.
every week. And so you see at one point Dunk just kind of fall over and you think he's dead. I mean, eyes
It
are open. There is no
yes.
breath.
Yeah.
Brother is
He's
dead.
dead. He's dead. Yeah.
And they are ready to blow the horn. Arian is like, I killed him. It's done. Let's end this. Because you can tell that he is not so thrilled he's out there anymore either.
I will say that. I will also say he impressed me a little bit. Like because he was so much of a coward, he went for the horse, didn't win a fight. I thought as soon as Dunk gets his hands on you, it's over. You could tell this man has some fighting experience. He's still a coward, but he was better than I thought.
Right. And it's funny you should say that. It also shows you that Dunk is pretty much a flea bottom fighter. He is not
Yes.
a polished knight. He is not a polished fighter in the least. He went to alleyway street fighting in a hot second where it was just, I'm throwing like haymakers at you. I'm swinging
Yes.
my sword. But ultimately, what it comes down to is I'm getting you on the ground and punching your face until
Hmm.
you yield.
Yeah.
I mean, we get that, like I said, before that happens, so we get to the point where like you do think he's dead, he's head on the ground, you have Egg yelling his just heartbroken, he's just like,
Oof.
get up. So, I mean, he goes through all emotions. And the merest, they're about to blow the horn, and he sees the merest twitch come from Sir Duncan, and that boy lets out the most blood curdling wait you can possibly imagine. It just hurts your soul. I will say,
RIP those vocal cords, but that was phenomenal.
going back, and I'm jumping around, but going back when they're about to lead off to the fight and they have their little moment again where he says, "Don't rob me because I'll send the dogs after you." And Aegon says, "Woof." I was like, oh, my little heart just broke.
Yes.
Just like, please, please come back for this baby. You can tell that they are already, there's just a bond, a just beautiful relationship there. And
Even though he's angry with him still.
still,
Even though he was angry, he's still because like he walked away and was like, yeah, we're not on speaking terms. But at the last second, he was like, you know what? Let me fix this the best way I know how. And they had that little interaction. And it was like, even though he was angry with him, he still was like, hey,
you
like,
better be here when
you better be
I'm
here when I
coming
get
back to
back.
you.
Oh, man.
Right. So we finally get Dunk on the ground and beaten the living daylights out of Arian. He yields, and you can also tell how kind and kind-hearted that Dunk is, because whether rather than killing him another where he has absolute right to on the battlefield, he makes him heal, drags him in. I love that he drags the foot in front of him and says, "Tell him what you told me." And once he says, "I withdraw my accusation," he dumps him. Let's end the fight, blow the horn. Let's end this. Like, that's it.
I thought he was going to because we saw his girlfriend's throat get slashed. I thought Dunk was dragging him over there, and when he like pulled his head up to have him repeat, I thought he was going to just like go full brutal, like just savage mode and cut his throat in front of the royal family, which is, would have been better option. But he's a good person, and so that's what he did. But there was a moment where I'm like, oh, he is about to cut this man's throat the same way the first love of his life was killed, and he's gonna do it in front of his family. Like I was so sure that's what was about to happen.
And you're reminded about just how good he is. That it's
Yes,
just, I don't
100%.
even want to be here. I
Because it would
don't,
have been easy to do.
but he's and well within his rights.
Yes.
And it's because Arian wouldn't have thought twice to do it to him
Nope.
at all. And so it's it's nice to see that he's just like, I just want this ended. There's no need for this to keep going. That's And we find out real quick after I can't think of the guy who did his shield, what his name is.
Oh, oh, I was just talking about him this morning to Sarah. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'll
Well,
find it.
yeah, while he's looking at it, we get him and Raymond Fossaway kind of drag him off into a corridor and is like, all right, let's start taking care of you. You are not doing so great.
Yeah.
And they, obviously don't. His first concern is who did, like, how many people died? Like, what are we? This is, again, this was kind of pointless. There were 14 people out there just beating the living daylights out of each other. Like, who died?
Steely Pete.
Steely Pete. Okay. We find out that Beesbury and I forgot the other guy's name who died pretty quickly. They said as soon as the first charge. You never
Not,
really see Darian, who says that he's going to take a dive. I'm assuming he was just laying out there.
yeah, he was just on the ground diva down.
And we did find out that early before the fighting starts, that Baylor's point in joining the melee was he said, like I had suspected, is I'm taking out the Kingsguard. I'm going to make them. I'm pretty much going to neuter their any kind of
Yeah.
influence that they have because they can't swing on me. Well, rarely we'll find out that his brother can still swing on him. Which, why are you swinging on your brother? What are we
Well, I mean
doing?
that just goes back to what what's his face was saying about the Targaryens. They are incestuous, like they check they are not good people at the end of the day. The Kingsguard were more noble because you would think once, like, yeah, we took an oath not to lay a hand on you, but like once we get put in a 7-on-7, that goes out the window. No, they stuck to their oath.
They said,
Meanwhile, the Targaryen brother was like, eh, the back of
you're
your head's
asking,
exposed. I'm going for it.
you're fair game. So
Yeah.
we go up, we're back there with Don, both these Steely Pete and Raymond Fossway, and we see Baylor approach him and is basically you're getting the vibe that had what happened not happened, that Baylor would have been willing to take him in as a King's Guard. He said, "We need good men, like you." But then you start to get where he's like, "Oh, I'm not feeling so good, Mr. Stark." We get that, and
Exactly.
he's like, "My fingers feel wood," and you're just like, "Please don't take this helmet off." Right now, the only thing that is keeping this man's brains inside of his head is this helmet. Can we please not remove this?
Yeah.
And of course they do. He turns around and
Oof.
the part of his skull is missing. So he quickly drops, and Dunk is very much, you can tell throughout this entire thing, he knows this entire thing was not worth it. This was not worth it. And I'm sure he's probably a little frustrated. I mean, just, I will say the Targaryens in general, like, I'm frustrated at Egg now that, like, he's put me in this position. He's put me in this position. Arian has put me in this position. Maekar put his brother in this position. Like, now Baylor's dead. I'm kind of responsible for, once word gets out that Baylor was fighting for a no name against his brothers and family for me, like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to look too kindly upon. So yeah, we end with Rip Baylor on the ground.
I thought Sir Lionel was gone when his horse got stabbed. I literally said, not my antler king. Um, and they never really mentioned him, and I was worried, but then I watched the trailer for next week and saw he's alive. So, but yeah, I knew Baylor was going to die because he was a good dude, and just because had he survived, how would the Targaryen family go back to normal? Like, and I realize that's like cheating to look at it that way, but like you have to understand after this, there's no way you guys go back to just being cool after that. So I'm like, he's got to die. I did not think it was going to be that way, but oof, that was rough. It was sad. It was a good guy. You saw, like you said, Dunk feels responsible, but he also is probably like we all are feeling some anger towards the Targaryens as a whole, because yes, a lot of this has to do with A, Egg running away and attaching himself to Dunk, which I don't blame him. Like it's not like his home life was great, but like that is what kind of kickstarted it. Then you blame Arian for breaking the girl's finger and was going to kill her over a play. Then you go back to Egg because you brought Dunk in there. Then you go back to Maekar, who killed his brother. Like it's just Targaryen, Targaryen, Targaryen. Like it is tough, and then yeah, you see that scene hurt. But that's what makes for good television. I mean, again, that's why we say keep Tony Stark dead. The deaths have to mean something because we feel something. But that episode as a whole, I mean, just the cinematography. Like I was curious how they were going to shoot the fight, and I love a lot of the choices they made. I like the outside scene with the muted sounds, which is kind of like when you're
The
getting in
ringing in
those
your
high
ears,
stress
yeah.
moments. Yeah, like your eardrums, like,
In concussion, I mean,
yeah,
he's not hearing great.
he's
His
not
valve
hearing
has been harmed.
anything. Then you hear Egg making the horse go, and then as it starts charging, the camera moves inside the visor and you see it. Like, just so good. And they did such a good job of not glamorizing what those fights are like because I'm a person who enjoys sword fights in movies. I'm a Star Wars fan, so I like big guns and explosions.
Like, you like good choreography.
I love good choreography. This, and when you watch things like that, like Gladiator, like Star Wars, like Braveheart, it can feel gritty, but you feel the gloriousness of it. This was like, no, this is dark, it's dirty. These knights have like like that was the POV that we were getting. Like they did such a good job of being like nothing about this is glamorous. It is dark, it is dirty, it is dangerous. It like such a like my only complaint, and it's not even like a real complaint, it's more of a preference thing, they showed a lot of the fight from Dunk's POV only. And even when you weren't inside his visor, you were only seeing his immediate surroundings. I think it would have been nice to see the rest of the fights, but I understand this was his story, so they wanted to do it this way. But like, I can't
You don't want to run the risk
exactly.
of just copying Battle of the Bastards. Whereas
Yes,
because that was such a that's a Game of Thrones, like the Game of Thrones universe, and that was such a big fight that had huge repercussions. Not that this doesn't, because now
right.
people are dead, but it was such a massive thing of different royal houses and all these armies. You wanted it to be grand and you needed it to be big. This is about one guy's fight against a particular other guy who
Yes,
made this happen, because it could have just been a fight between those two, but Arian decided to get 14 other, like 12 other people involved in this dispute. And it's like you want to see it from a guy's point of view of, this is not what I wanted, this is not what I asked for,
yes.
but I was thrust into this small thing, and now it's become a little bit larger. But yeah, not, it's you can understand how, even without seeing the other fights, just from his point of view what they must be like.
100%. I cannot say enough good things about the way that sequence was shot. The phenomenal,
And like you
phenomenal.
said, another shout out to Raymond Fossaway for coming in clutch in every moment that he was asked to.
Yes.
In fight, and even just taking a knighthood just to even fight at the last moment, knowing that he's not the best fighter, swinging on Arian when Arian had Duncan pinned down on the ground and that boy went flying, and then at the end, him being the first one, making sure that Dunk was okay and let's get you out of this
Yes.
chainsaw and this armor. I mean, these are
In a world where people backstab you and betray you all the time, you need a fuss away on your side. Like, I mean, that yeah. Th- it was such a good episode. Such
such
a
a good
good
episode.
episode.
And it's
Emotional.
only 9.9.
9.9 as of right now, yeah, 9.9 with 27,000 reviews in. I mean, I, it was worth the wait. The way they shot it, like you said, they didn't want it to be identical to Battle of the Bastards, so they put a twist on it. Again, that shot I keep visualizing where it's there, you're behind the horse POV, and then you see the camera moving, and then it's right inside the visor. When he gets hit, you get the red blood splatter on the screen. Just
Him looking down, seeing this inside of him, and when he pulls it out, it immediately pulls back to the, like,
yes,
his, not from his point of view, but like just you watching him pull that steak out of him. It's
it's brutal, and like I said, it takes the glory of battle out of it and shows you, I think, more accurately what it was like for those individuals. And
Yeah,
maybe that explains why they're all drunks. Because, I mean, now imagine that on steroids. Like, that was a
right,
7-on-7. Now imagine like an actual war.
right.
Like, that, like, just so good. So good. And yeah, it goes back to how do you go back to the regular jousting tournament after that?
I don't know, but we're gonna see how our next episode plays out, because now with Baelor dead right there, and I mean we did see a little bit in the previews that
Yeah.
kind of, like, I am kind of done with princes and
Yeah.
Targaryens. But what I did appreciate, and I don't know like how much this be, like how much they'll spend on it, but in the previews, if you haven't seen the previews, go watch the preview for episode 6. Makar looks pretty messed up.
Yes.
His voice is shaking. I think he realizes this spun out of control a lot. Like, my kid is kind of responsible for this, and now because of that, I have a dead brother, and I don't know if Valar would be the next one as far as king, or if it goes to Maekar. I don't know how that the hierarchy or the
Oh, I appreciate, like we said, that we were getting the Fallout episode to end it because we do have questions
right.
about a lot of different things. And luckily, they didn't make they didn't make the Trial of Seven the finale. They made it episode 5 so we can deal with the Fallout. We can figure that out. And yeah, who does Makar blame for all of it? He could blame Dunk for swinging on his son. He could blame his son for kind of kickstarting this whole thing. He could blame Egg for kickstarting the whole thing. He could blame himself for killing his brother. He could blame Arian for calling for the trial of seven. Like, there's a lot of different directions. It's curious where he decides to point his anger.
Right.
Being a Targaryen, I feel like it won't be towards himself or his family. Um, Curious,
Doesn't look like he's really that angry at Dunk either because he does say, "My son has
Oh,
come
that
attached to
is
me,
true. That
and
is
like,
true.
please take him on as a squire." Like, it's kind of crazy that he's. But again, it's going to be interesting just seeing how everybody reacts to it. And they've done such a great job with again these 35, 40 minute episodes and so much content is like
Yes.
thrown into there. I mean, we got a flashback. You knew instantly Dunk's mindset being that young, a young adult in Flea Bottom, and just his overall kindness and kind of being naive, and even till today. I mean, like that
Yes.
has never changed. Even though everything he's ever seen, you'd expect him to be cruel and unkind and all the things he's been through, but it is still not happening. Like that man is just good to the core, and is never
Yes.
going to change. You get some of that backstory during while he's passed out. You get a great fight. You get heartfelt scenes with Aegon. You get heartfelt scenes with Baelor. It's flashes of heroism from a fossil away. It's in what, 35 minutes, 37.
35 minutes. And one of the things that you did mention a little bit earlier was you could see the difference in fighting styles, the polished versus non-polished. And I mean, like it reminds me, I'm a big UFC fan, and it reminds me of when you see the different styles of fighters, the very technical fighters, whenever they fight one of the more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people who's more of a ground and pound brawler, how much they are trying to like, if I stand up and fight you, you're gonna just piece me up. I need to get you to the ground and just beat you that way. And like, that's kind of what it felt like, where Dunk tried to stand up and fight, and it was very quickly proven to him like you don't stand a chance.
Oh
Like,
yeah, he tossed off that shield real quick and he was
yeah,
like, it's just time to
he
use
went back to the
fists.
streets, and I thought that was great. And it reminded me of a UFC fight where you see those guys that the fight starts and they try and stand up, and then eventually, like, you know what, forget this. I'm just gonna tackle you and take you to the ground because I know I can get you that way.
Exactly right. Like my size, my brute size will
Yeah,
just have to use my, yeah, and just pummel you
yeah.
until it.
And then obviously the contrasting of the armors too was great. Just because, again, I mean, I've been talking about it since I saw it 3 episodes ago. Like that Targaryen armor is just whew. And then you see Dunk, who's got the very
Pieces.
basic, you just very clunky and all of that. Like they did a very good job of their different polished versus unpolished fighting styles, the armor, and then again, even their personalities. Because yeah, Arian thought he killed him, and had he known he wasn't fully dead, probably would have stabbed him when he was on the ground unconscious.
Right.
Versus Dunk, who had every right to kill him, to cut his throat, allowed him to yield, dragged him over there and made him
By his
yield
foot.
again by his foot and made him yield again. Like it just, yeah, I could go on for days talking about this episode. And again, to your point again, putting all of that, including flashbacks, into 35 minutes when they could have gone for an hour-long episode because that's what they've been doing, with their other shows. 35 minutes, you put all of that in there, just not a wasted second.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
Great. What happens when you use the source material and you use it well? I mean, and you use what he said and you use what he wrote. Don't mess
Yes.
with it. Just use it, and it's all there. It's all there that you needed in 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but very. I know we were kind of skeptical at the beginning of this series, wondering what we were going to get. I think we've gotten really good TV. It's been amazing to watch the reaction on social media.
Online chatter is
People are like,
like
it's
peak
packed.
Game of Thrones almost, like the way people are talking about it, and I'm glad to see it because like we said, when the show first kicked off, I saw a couple of comments here or there, but like with each episode, I've seen more and more and more people talking about it. ESPN people who I follow for sports takes are talking about it. Like this has taken the world over, very similar to the original Game of Thrones, and it's well deserved
They
because
were
this was
wondering if
so
it was
good.
going to beat the ratings for the NBA All-Star game.
I think it might have. The NBA All-Star Game was oddly early, I think because of the Olympics, but I wouldn't be surprised if the ratings did. Just because the build-up, there was a lot of skepticism going into this All-Star game just because the All-Star game hasn't been great.
Right.
And then you've got, and then you've got this show, which is each week has topped itself. I
Like,
haven't seen the numbers yet, but it would not surprise me in the slightest if it blew the numbers out of the
it's going to be
water.
amazing, and I'm so glad that people are back and watching it, and hopefully,
Yeah,
like it works towards the House of Dragon season 3 that's coming out. Hopefully, they learn something from this and try not to leave like 2, 3 years between
for sure.
seasons, but we will see what we get. Now before we go, last time we were so happy about that last
Oh,
episode, like
yes.
it's you get better. We didn't talk about Wonder Man, like, and I know we're not like going to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but your just give me your initial thoughts of the entire season.
I really enjoyed the show. I enjoyed how different it was. I really enjoyed the story that was told. I do wish we got more exploration into what exactly his powers are and kind of more of a setup for Doomsday or anything else. Um, but overall, I loved the emotion that went into the show that you haven't gotten it from some Marvel shows, but this was just a very emotional, grounded real, real superhero show. It's a struggling actor who has trouble with his family, but you still got the superhero sci-fi-ness of it. I do believe the reason why you don't have more of a build-up for Avengers Doomsday is because I think, as I said last time, Marvel didn't really believe in this show, so they didn't want to build him up for Doomsday. But for how powerful he is, I feel like he can be a pretty important player once he decides to use his powers, because for a long time it was like, I want to be an actor, forget the powers. But I loved the show. Ben Kingsley, just absolutely incredible actor. And they did a really good job of balancing emotion and comedy, which is something that Marvel has struggled with over the years. So they did a good job of balancing the two and turning Trevor, who a character I absolutely hated, into a character that I can appreciate now.
Agreed. Yeah, like I mean, you can't go wrong with Ben Kingsley. He over delivers in whatever material he's given.
Yes.
I enjoyed the series as well. I thought it was a little slow to start off with. I thought they really ramped it up in a way that I appreciate towards the end. What I'm most bummed about is we learn about him. You kind of know who he is. We get all this, and now we don't know if he'll ever show up again
Yep.
or anything. Plus, you have all of the now like clearly they're focusing. That group is focusing on the mutants. The DODC, I think it's the
Hmm.
DODC, is clearly focusing on mutants because they haven't gone after any of the other superheroes that we know are out there. Like you don't hear them worried about like
Yeah. They reference, I think they were in No Way Home with Spider-Man, who isn't a mutant, but
right,
they didn't arrest him at any point. 'Cause for most of that
it,
movie, they knew who he was. And I think
right,
they talked to him, but they didn't take him in or anything. It seems like right now their focus is only on mutants, which is
right. Ms. Marvel and now like
yeah.
Man, and so it's like you kind of want like again. I enjoyed it enough to want more, and now I'm like, are we ever getting more?
Yeah.
What did what's like? I that's great. Like it bums you out knowing that it's just maybe a one off that we'll never get any kind of resolution or any kind of um end or more
Yeah.
to the story.
No
When
continuation
you have
potentially.
those great actors together and they had such great chemistry together, and it was again they focused a lot on like really breaking into Hollywood and how it actually is for actors, and that kind of stuff. And it's like by the time you move to the superhero aspect, not that they should have focused heavily on it, but by the time you moved that story forward, you're wanting more, and you're now we don't know where
You're at the finale at that point.
right now. It's like they've flown off and they're just living on an island.
No,
So
I definitely agree with that. And yeah, they're Marvel spotlights. There's no guarantee that any of those will continue.
right,
And then again, just with where the MCU is at currently, because I mean, obviously Doomsday is going to be huge, but we don't know the exact storyline. We don't know who's going to be the main focus. And then you have this guy who doesn't really have a superhero suit technically and hasn't really, I mean, he's accepted his powers because he used it to break
right,
Trevor out of prison, but he is not officially taken on the hero role yet. He is still very much an actor. So you do wonder, like, is he going to be just a cameo guy going forward? And if that's the case, that
right,
sucks. But we
right.
don't know.
Yeah, it's yeah. You leave. I love and hate the Marvel spotlights because I feel like it's great because you get these like we get with Werewolf by Night. That you got that little kind of universe and that little story, and you get this background on these characters. But it's then very hard to go into these movies and being like, there's still like a whole bunch of like there's this whole society that you're not talking about and you're not focused on. And so it's like I like them because you get like these really good, like I said, really well shot, really great scored. Sometimes they're good scripts, not all of them are, but these good shows, and then it's like, but we're never gonna reference them.
I've gone back and forth with that myself multiple times because I exact same. I can appreciate you looking at the catalog of characters that you have and saying, "Hey, I read these comics that people didn't like Wonder Man. Like people, oh, I loved Wonder Man. Like, sure, maybe if you were into West Coast Avengers, but the average fan probably doesn't know a whole lot about the character. So yeah, you take these random characters and write a story about them. I can appreciate that because you have so many. But because of the MCU as a whole, you can't help but be like, okay, but now it has to connect to the bigger universe. And does it technically have to? No, but you want it to. And if it doesn't, there is a part of you that's like, well, I can't fully embrace Wonder Man, Echo, Werewolf by Night, even though it was, even if it was really good, it's just like I want it to connect to the bigger universe. And they could go off and say, oh, this was on Earth, whatever. So it technically, like they could do that. So yeah, I have gone back and forth with like, I like them, but they don't always connect to the bigger universe, and that
And
makes me
it's
not like
true.
it.
And I get it. And it's like that's very much how the comics are because like
Yeah,
right now I'm going through Jonathan Hickman's like 2012, 2015, all of that, like Avengers, New Avengers, the Infinity, it's not the Infinity Gauntlet saga, it's just the Infinity Saga that's leading into Secret Wars. And you have these big, broad stories going on with different groups of Avengers and different timelines and the Illuminati and all this stuff and a whole bunch of different characters. But you know that there's like Moon Knight is out there and Daredevil. I mean, like all of these characters that they don't reference in these, they still have all their comics going on in like Venom and like all these like
yeah,
all these characters. And they're never referenced in these bigger, so it's like I get it because that is kind of how the comics are. Like they're not using all the characters they have in some of these bigger storylines. So I try to remember that while reading, like watching these shows and reading that, like, okay, it's pretty much just the page to the screen is the way they're doing that and try not to make everything connect. But I mean, like, Marvel is like what is there, a victim of their own success kind of thing,
yes,
right? So they did set up a certain way and a certain formula, and they're doing what the comics did is they're branching off and they're going all these different stories, which is great. But now it's kind of like you have to like adjust your brain to make it okay. This is just a screen, not quote unquote adaptation of the comics, but it's their version of the comics. So
for
it's
sure.
it's tough, but I mean, it hasn't kept me from still, it isn't like, oh, I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, where's the X-Men in this? Oh,
Right.
like, no, I'm not, there's no Cyclops in the story. They're only using Wolverine. Oh, this is trash. I'm still reading, so, it is what it is. So there's our little bit of Wonder Man because it wasn't much. We've got a whole bunch of shows like ahead for this year. We got Daredevil, we got Spider Noir coming out.
Oh,
There's
can't wait for that.
House of Dragons still left. I mean, there's still so much, so many shows and so much to go through.
Oh
Is
yeah.
there anything that you're watching right now that isn't the Olympics?
I just finished, well, just season's over, but I just finished Fallout a
Okay.
couple weeks ago. Absolutely love that show. Walton Goggins is
Yeah, he's a national treasure.
just he's a national treasure. I compare Walton Goggins to Catherine Hahn in the sense of it doesn't matter what role they're playing, they put 100% effort and commitment into whatever that role is, whether it's serious, whether it's funny, just pure comedy. They look at the character and fully lean into it. So that's such a good show. Like I remember I watched Bad Moms with Catherine Hahn, and she's the motorcycle biker alcoholic mom, and she like fully leans into it. And you watch obviously Agatha, but then Walton Goggins is a ghoul, which is essentially a zombie type of thing, kind of. But he's so good in the role. It's one of the video game adaptations that has been turned into a quality TV show. So I love it. Second
They do
season
a lot
just
better
ended.
than, like
Yes, they are doing a lot better. But I just finished that. Um, Outside of that, I don't think I've got anything. I think me and Sarah need to catch up on we're a season behind on or we haven't started the latest season of Only Murders in the Building. So we need to start that. We finished the 2 seasons ago or whatever, but the new one where I think they're going to Vegas or Hollywood or something, we haven't started that season yet, so we're gonna try to start that pretty soon.
love that show.
Such a good show.
Love that show. Love Steve Martin and Martin Short. I love
Yes.
so much. Like, and every time I watch a season of that, I always want to rewatch Three Amigos. Like, oh,
Yes.
I just
Yes.
want to go right now. Let me put on this movie. Like, I need to watch this. So, yeah. No, I've just pretty much it's been Olympics. So lots of
Oh,
drama.
true.
Lots of drama. You got
Yeah.
the Canadian curling cheating scandal. You got
Just little finger.
the Norwegian guy confessing to his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend, I guess at this point. You got
Yes.
the judges in ice dancing giving the French team that there's a whole bunch of
There
backstory.
has been a lot of drama in this Winter Olympics, and I mean, I'm here for it. I love the Olympics. I love the Olympics. It doesn't matter, like curling. I don't care about curling. I am glued to the television watching this tea kettle slide across the ice. Like,
So you
I
watch
love it.
these skiers jogging uphill on skis under 6 minute miles.
That made me feel so bad about myself. Like when I tell you I can't even do that on perfect weather on a flat surface.
Yeah, what I'd love to is about like the skiers and speed skaters and their regimen and their exercise and their fitness routine is just so precise and so just methodically planned out. And then you have the snowboard and you're like, I don't know, I had like a half a donut this morning.
Yep. Yep.
It's great stuff, great stuff. So we're gonna end it here. We're looking forward to the last episode of A Night of Seven Kingdoms. And yeah, after that we will decide what show we are covering next. So
Yes.
we will see you all later. Bye.